Hey, see Sparky Fifer, 1250 a.m. The Fan, beautiful, lovely Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Make sure to go to 1250amthefan.com. Check out all the interviews I do throughout the course of the week, doing weekly interviews now. If you're a Brewers fan, with Tim Dillard, Valley Sports Wisconsin analyst. Those get posted on Tuesday nights, Wednesday mornings. If you want to get some Brewers baseball take in there for you, people that are looking for a Brewers podcast right now. My guy, Nathan Marzion, Bucks super fan. Follow him on Twitter at Nathan Marzion, also super Marquette fan. It's hilarious when I talk to people about this podcast. Oh, you got that Marquette guy on. Yeah, I got the Marquette guy on. I'm proud of him, my guy, Nathan Marzion on.
Who said that?
Oh, I get it all the time. Oh, yeah, he's the big Marquette fan. That's how everybody always says. Every time I bring up Nathan Marzion, oh, he has the big Marquette guy. You're more to be the Marquette guy with people I talk to than you are to be the actual Bucks guy, which is absolutely hilarious to me, which is pretty funny.
That's the thing is like 90, I wouldn't say 90, but 75 to 80% of my content is Bucks. But yet there's the people that just they just latch on to the fact that I'm a Marquette fan. I hate the Badgers and I like the Cubs, and even though that's like a pretty small portion of what I actually put out there,
right?
That's what they latch onto, and that's why they're like, I hate him because of that, and whatever, that's fine.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. All right, so first topic we're going to start off with. What are your thoughts on Giannis's take on the MVP award? Now, let's start here. This is a great interview with Chris Haynes in Bleacher Report. What was it? Yesterday, I guess it was, or the day before, April 9th. So I'm going to read you the quotes from Giannis within this thing. And they get into talking about, like I said, the MVP award. Giannis, quote, "Look, I'll never try to create a narrative about the work I put in, and maybe that might hurt me because I believe the last 5 years I've been the MVP. Do I want a third MVP? Hell yeah, I want a third one." He actually swore, but I'm not going to swear in this. "I'm extremely competitive. I try to make my team successful," said Giannis. "That's what I get paid for. That's what I'm here for. I'm never going to be one who discredits anybody else's work. That's not who I am as a person. I will never beg for an MVP award that I believe I deserve. I'm very proud that I'm able to play at an MVP level because that means I'm making my team very successful. That's the goal." Now, let's stop there. There's more quotes, and we'll get to the rest of them here. I agree that at this point of his career, there is no need to beg for an MVP award, okay? Because he's already got multiple. He's got Defensive Player of the Year. He's got a championship ring. He's got everything the man could possibly want at this point. Now, obviously, you want more, right? Because you want to be considered the greatest of all time. So more MVP awards, the better. More championships, the better, to be in that conversation when your career is over. But what I do love, and he's always been consistent on this, Nathan, is his whole thing of it's about the team first. It's about the team goals. And I think as a Bucks fan or an NBA fan, you have to appreciate that about Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's not a single player in the NBA that doesn't want to win MVP, that doesn't want to win awards and isn't happy to win awards. Like nobody just ignores it completely and says, I don't care about it at all. Like anyone likes to get recognition. It's a good thing. There's, they like that stuff. But there are guys that you can tell, I'm not gonna say they prioritize it over the team, but like it's near the same level where these guys care just as much about their own stats, their own accolades, and just getting their own as they do about the team winning and making their team better and all that. And, Giannis has always said this where he's like, yeah, I'd like to win it. I'm not going to act like I don't care at all, but ultimately it's about the team winning. And I'd much rather my team be good. I'd much rather be making my team better. He would 100 times rather they win a title. And he even, and this is just completely hypothetical. If you gave Giannis the option, hey, you can win a title and you're going to average 8 points a game, or you're not going to win the title, but you're going to average 35 and win the MVP, he'd 100 times out of 100 take the title. And that's just who he is. And a lot of guys, like a lot of superstars would not do that genuinely. Like they wouldn't actually say that. And yeah, it's absolutely something to just be proud of and be happy that this dude plays for our team. And, that you never have to worry about him putting himself above the team ever and getting, too big for the team or anything like that. Like that's what we always love about him. And we just don't have to worry about any of that, which is not the case for plenty of superstars out there.
Correct. Absolutely correct about that. All right, let's move on. Next, Giannis quote. "Can I say this? 2 of the MVPs I won in the last 5 years, those were my 2 worst seasons in that span," Giannis told Bleacher Report. Go pull up the stats. But it doesn't even matter. I've tried to avoid this conversation at all costs. I don't ever want to drive a narrative and have my kids seeing their father whining about an award because at the end of the day, it's all a part of history. I don't want to win that way. This is another part of Giannis that is different from, I think, other athletes, maybe, at least publicly. He is very self-conscious about how this looks to his children, how this looks to his young kids who aren't old enough to know what the heck is going on right now. I mean, they're not comprehending anything that's really happening. But he's also self-aware enough to know that YouTube exists. All these podcasts are going to live forever, probably, right? So you can always go back and find what people were saying about my dad back in the day when he was playing. And those friends that are going to be mean and try and say something bad about your dad one way or the other, they're going to have the access to go try and dig up stuff on Giannis one way or the other. And he's to be thinking that far out as far as how this could come back on your kids or what your kids may think of you later. I don't think a lot of dudes think like that. I think a lot of dudes live in the now. Yes, they have kids, and yes, they're trying to be a great father figure to their kids as they speak. But I don't think they're thinking about repercussions of what they say in the media or what they say after a game or in the locker room, and then it leaks out into the media. I don't think they think about it from that perspective the way Giannis does, Nathan.
Yeah, and this goes back to also, I mean, even how he wanted to win a title in Milwaukee. He wanted to do it a certain way. He wanted, like, I think he prides himself on doing stuff, excuse my language, but like the badass way. Like he wants to do it without being a whiner, without being a complainer, and someone that's like, again, kind of coming off as it's all about me, and again, jumping ship to go play with play with superstars and join some super team. He wants to do it the way that it's like, no, I'm gonna take this hard route. He always says, I see a wall, I go through it. I'm not gonna go around it. I'm gonna go right through it. And he wants to, like, you can tell, I think he kind of likes that, he's being forgotten a little bit. And it's like, he's going to really love down the road, if it happens. And this is what he kind of said will happen, is like, at some point, you're going to just get to a point where it's like, this dude's still in the MVP conversation. Like, okay, like give another one, because he's just here every single year. And he wants that. Like, he wants it to just be, everyone's almost tired of him. And it's like, you have no choice but to respect him. And that's just, I mean, that's how he was, again, with staying in Milwaukee, winning a title here. It's like, you had no choice but to respect that. You had, like, nobody could say anything about that because he didn't do it. And like, there was nothing he did wrong there. He did everything the right way, and he still won, and he took the hard route. And that's just what he always likes to do. I think he enjoys that challenge a little bit. And I think this is something else he'll kind of like, it's just kind of a weird little, like, mid-career challenge that he can almost trick himself into, like, okay, like, this is just another thing I got to prove to people. It's like, I gotta go against all odds. These people want to just ignore me. I'm going to give them no choice but to basically respect me. And I believe he'll do it again.
It's interesting you bring something up, and I guess I hadn't really thought about it. And that's why I love doing these podcasts. Marzion always brings some points I don't necessarily think about day to day. What has been his biggest career flub? Has he had one to where you go, okay, that was a misstep, or okay, that maybe was a misquote? I mean, the only thing I could think of is tackling the dude out of bounds in that Bulls playoff game. That was Dunleavy. And I enjoyed the hell out of that. I remember exactly where I was when that whole thing went down, on top of everything else. I was at Q Club of Wisconsin, and we were doing our draft show there, and the Bucks Bulls playoff game was on, and I was watching that, and the Bucks were getting absolutely destroyed, if everybody remembers correctly. And Dunleavy, never really been a big fan of that dude to begin with. His dad, I get along with him, whatever. So he gets tackled out of bounds by Giannis. That was probably the biggest flub or negative thing I can come up with Giannis of, okay, he probably would want that one back. He probably doesn't want that one on his record. But outside of that, like, even in the media, I don't remember him ever like going the wrong way or going sideways and having to apologize or having to clarify or anything like that, Nathan.
Yeah, the only other thing is the ladder thing from Philly this year, which it wasn't a big deal. Everyone blew that out of proportion, but like, you could argue, okay, if he could go back in time and redo that, he probably wouldn't have done it. Like, I don't think he wanted to disrespect anyone. He wasn't trying to come off that way, but again, the Dunleavy thing, the funny part about that too is, number one, the dude was 18 years old or whatever. Number two, so this isn't like he's some mature dude that should know better. Like, right. He was 18, he was whatever. And the second thing is, it had nothing to do with him personally. He was defending his teammate. I think it was MCW who got shoved by Dunleavy earlier, and he was just getting back at like 4. He was trying to back up Michael Carter Williams. And so it's like, even when he does something wrong, it's like, well, he was just standing up for his teammates. So you can't really get that mad at him. And it's just,
Right.
yeah, as you said, I knock on wood that nothing ever happens, but like it's just, he doesn't ever really make any huge mistakes. He doesn't say anything controversial. He has funny quotes. He has stuff that, gets attention, but it's not in any bad way. It's not
Like
in any
dad
bad way.
jokes, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like stuff
Yep.
like that. And he's always, even when he could have been super cocky and super, and the funny thing is, it's not even bad to be cocky. Like it can be, but it's not, if you deserve it. If, let's say, when he won that title, he could have just gone out and been like, screw all of you, yada yada yada,
Yep.
and just really unleashed on everyone. And he still was like, he had a little bit of like, yeah, we did it. But he still was kind of like, I'm not going to call myself the best. I'm not going to say that I'm the best player in the world still. And it's like, dude, like you could have easily just taken a completely different route, and he just never wants to do it. And again, part of that is he wants to always, with calling other people the best player in the world and always taking that high route and always telling himself, no, I'm not the best. He said like he needs that to motivate him. Otherwise, he's going to get, like, if you sit back and say, okay, well, I won a title, I've won MVP, I won Defensive Player of the Year, I'm an MVP candidate every year, I won a title,
Most improved.
I'm pretty much regarded as the best player in the world. Like, what else do you have to prove? And you can lower your guard a little bit, lower your motivation to get better and like make your team better and really keep going. Cause it's like, well, we already won a title. There's some guys that would just lose some of the motivation to do it again and say, I can live with one. I'm not gonna go crazy trying to get a second one. And he's just not like that. And again, that's what's the beauty of having him as your best player, is you just know that, it's Jordan-esque, where like he's never satisfied. He's never gonna stop finding ways to be competitive and
Right.
motivate himself. And even like if he has to make stuff up, he'll make stuff up to just motivate himself.
All right, next one in this Bleacher Report article with Chris Hayes. Chris asked him, could there be voters fatigue when it comes to Giannis's candidacy? Giannis says, quote, maybe people are just tired of me. And look, I'll be tired of myself too. I'm not going to lie. Mariah, my significant other, is tired of me too. But at the end of the day, I will try to be consistent. I'll try to be as dominant as I can. And I'll try to help my team be as successful for as many years as I can. And in many years as my legs allow me to be. Eventually, they're going to be like, man, give this guy this MVP because he's still here. That's what's going to happen, end quote. And that's pretty much what you had brought up earlier with inside of this article. And I don't know how this works as far as when he gets another one, because I feel like the Embiid thing is deserved. Like, he's had a really good year. I'm not going to say Embiid hasn't had a good year, but I do feel like well, he should have one. How does he not have one already? Let's give it to him. So once we get past this year of Embiid getting it, who's the next guy then that they're going to try and lobby to get an MVP that doesn't have one? Like, who's the next guy that they're going to be like, okay, Joker's got a couple, Giannis has a couple, we just gave Embiid one last year, who else deserves one? Or is it going to go back to, okay, time to give Giannis another one next year, if he's balling out and they're playing well? I feel like, well, Embiid's probably going to win it this year. I feel like Giannis could be in a position, unless I'm forgetting somebody here, where he could be the MVP again next year. And it's almost kind of written in stone before the season even starts, provided he's healthy.
Yeah, the one guy that's been on my mind for a few years, but his team hasn't been good enough, is Luka. That you're kind of he has these
That's a
really
hot
good
mess.
seasons. Yeah, but at this point, I mean, with the way the Mavs are going, that doesn't seem super realistic. I mean, he's been really good, but his team hasn't been good enough to win the MVP. And yeah, I mean, I think there almost could become like reverse voter fatigue, is that we don't give it to Giannis for a few years and everyone's kind of like, okay, it's Giannis, it's Giannis's turn again, as they are saying now with Embiid, it's Embiid's turn. And I think people go into it saying, if Giannis has another MVP season, that's 6 in a row, like MVP caliber season, let's give him, like, he can have another one, unless someone blatantly is better than him and there's no argument against it. It's like, especially too, I mean, and we don't know what's going to happen in these playoffs, but let's say the Bucks go out and win the title again, or even if they don't win the title, let's say that, they go into the playoffs, Giannis plays better than anyone else in the playoffs and is still, even like last year, they lost in the second round, but the playoffs still showed that Giannis was the best in the world, took the Celtics to 7 without Chris and was just amazing in that series. And it's like, if he goes and does that again, either wins a title or gets close and still like shows just how dominant he is. And Embiid and Jokic, don't win the finals or don't make it to the finals or whatever. It's like, again, there's going to be no, like, everyone kind of will just at that point go into the season saying, yeah, we know who the best player in the world is. And assuming he stays healthy, assuming the Bucks are one of the best teams, it'll just be like, all right, give it to him.
I'll give you the guy that just came up as you were talking about the guy that could get it next year. Let's say it's Phoenix, Milwaukee. Phoenix wins. I think KD, if healthy next year with the Suns and they go win 60 games or whatever, I think Kevin Durant is the guy that they're going to be looking for to get the MVP award to. If they win the trophy in Phoenix and beat Milwaukee in the finals, then they come back and have a monster year in Phoenix again, and KD is relatively healthy, I think he would be the next guy up for MVP before Giannis. Outside of KD, I don't know who else. And KD is going to want that series big time if it's Phoenix, Milwaukee, to have his shot at beating Milwaukee again after blowing it the last couple of times. So it'll be interesting. All right, moving on. He shared a story, Giannis did, with Chris Haynes on Bleacher Report about his time in the NBA Orlando bubble in the summer of 2020. Quote, in 2019, it was hard. I was hooping all year, but I made it successful. Then we went to the bubble. I left my family, my newborn kid, but it was worth it. That's what I see in those MVP trophies. I see the struggle. Do I wish to get one more? 100%. The goal is to play at an MVP level. Now, I could play at an MVP level and never be blessed with another MVP. That's okay. I see things before it happens. I manifest it in my mind. I remember when we lost in the bubble to Miami and everybody was saying we fell short again and all that other stuff. But I remember this. When we left our families for the bubble in an environment that nobody enjoyed, I sprained my ankle 3 times in a row before I was about to sign the largest contract in NBA history. And I'm begging my GM and my coach to let me play the game. That's all I remember. I never quit. When I went back home, I was able to hug my kid and look my family in the eyes. I was able to walk in the street with my head held high because I knew even for those last 10 minutes before I sprained my ankle, I gave everything I had. I remember telling you, talking about Chris Haynes, Chris, we can sit here all day and whine about what did happen, what did not happen. I could try to go to the easy route and leave. I told you I see a wall and I go right through it. What happened next year? There was a wall and I went right through it. We won the championship and now there's this wall that is called the narrative of an MVP. I'm going to go right through that wall too, said Giannis. Folks, again, there's just so much good stuff here. Just every time you read a quote of Giannis, you just smile as a Bucks fan with pride. Like, that's our dude, man. He's wearing Milwaukee across his chest and talking about that whole bubble narrative. And people want to say, well, that was a fake championship by the Lakers because of all the surrounding circumstances or whatever. Call it what you will. But it wasn't just leaving the family and everything else. You also had the cop shooting that happened in Kenosha. You had them sitting out a game because of George Hill. They ended up sitting out a game. And they were the kind of the centerpiece of all the controversy in the bubble was around this Bucks basketball team. And say whatever you want, but that was a big distraction to a lot of dudes in that locker room. And Giannis obviously was well aware of everything that was going on and was in the middle of it. Very well could have said, I'm done. Like, I'm sick of all this crap. I'm going home. I'm done. We're done. I'm done. And I'm out of here. And he didn't, like he said. And the even bigger point that he points out is he had on the precipice the largest contract of his life. And if he would have blown out his ankle or done something horrific, it could have came back to really bite him in the butt. And he refused to quit at that point, Nathan. And I think that is something that is lost when talking about Giannis.
Yeah. And that's the whole, the whole thing you just read is basically him saying, look, the way I am, I will never quit regardless of anything that ever happens. I will never stop giving 100%, never stop, go all the time. And, just saying, like, I've had these obstacles. I've had these things that I've had to go through throughout my entire career, entire life. And I've always just gone through them. I've always taken the hard route, gone through them, not shied away from it, and just kept on going. And he's like, it's just another thing. Like, they don't want to give me, the respect that I believe I deserve. Okay, well, I'm going to get, as I said before, like, he just feels like I'm going to keep going to the point where they have no choice. And it's like, that's the thing, again, I think that's what he loves to do. And he'd love to get to a point where it's like, yeah, they have no choice but to give me another one. They have no choice but to respect me and, put me in these conversations again and again and again. And yeah, I mean, that bubble, as you said, like he got hurt several times, and he still was like, he wanted to play, he wanted to keep going. And it's like, they were down 3-0 in the series. And in game 4, he gets hurt and still wanted to come back in. And it's like, dude, you're down 3-0. Like, we're not winning the series. Just sit out. Like, it's fine. It's clearly just not our year. And things just kind of have spiraled. Like, and he just doesn't want to quit. And I think he's kind of letting us know that, hey, like, what you guys always take from my failure isn't what I take from my failure. Like, you guys see us fail, and it's like, there's a lot of talk about, oh, he's going to want to leave, and he's going to, Giannis failed and yada, yada, yada. And in his mind, he's like, no, like I can look at me failing or having some obstacle in front of me and say, hey, we can work through this. Like, this isn't something that has to just derail us and be some huge turning point. It can be something that actually makes you better and actually, you can work to get past. And I think, again, it's just a reminder to us that, like, what we always see as that, like, as him failing, or what we have seen as him failing, he's seen more as like, this was actually a positive. This was actually something good.
All right, last quote here. And this is a good one. I'm extremely blessed to have 2 MVPs, Giannis told Bleacher Report. I could pull out a lot of facts and data to make a case for myself on why I feel people are discrediting my game, but I'm here to win a championship, and that goal will never change. I will never go out here to create a narrative and say, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the most handsome guy, and you should look this way because I'm the coolest. No, that's not me. I really believe from the bottom of my heart that eventually I'll get another one. Until then, I'm trying to get that second ring. Now, I will say this. Those people that are anti-Giannis, and there are some, will say, if he didn't want all of this conversation and talk, and considering him begging and so forth, why do the interview with Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report? Why go on telling everybody that you don't want to be begging for the MVP and so forth? Yet the entire piece is really pretty much talking about how you believe you have deserved another MVP for the last 5 years and kind of haven't gotten it. So aren't you essentially doing what you say that you won't do and refuse to do going forward? What do you say to that, Nathan?
I mean, I don't think any of this is him begging. Like, I'm not saying, I think he's genuinely just saying, like, and the problem is, you can cut it up and find quotes that make it look like he's begging and say, he says, do I want another one? Yeah, absolutely, I want another one, and yada yada. And if you just saw that, you'd say, oh wow, he's really just saying he wants an MVP, like he really needs that, and blah blah blah. But it's like, then if you read a little bit longer, he's like, but my ultimate goal is winning a title and yada yada. Like, I don't think he's doing this as he's not trying to campaign. He's not trying to, change people's minds or whatever. I think it's just, and I don't know how these interviews work. Like, I don't know if I'm sure he's obviously asked to do the interview.
Sure. And then he could do it or not do it. And he also has the opportunity to go, Chris, I'm not talking about the MVP award. If you want to do the interview about something else, that's cool, but I'm not talking about the MVP award. He could have said that, but instead, based on Chris Haynes, it's when Chris told him, you talking about the MVP, he's like, oh, I'm pissed about that. Let's go over here. I want to talk about it somewhere else where I get more comfortable. And he took him into a different room where family and friends were, and did the interview there. So clearly he wanted to have the conversation with somebody. Haynes caught him on a day when he was fired up to talk about it, and he did the interview. But again, to those naysayers of Giannis who think Giannis is fake or whatever because he never does anything wrong, they could point out, if you didn't want to talk about it, why don't you just tell Chris Haynes, I'm not talking about the MVP award, and let's talk about the team. That could be on the other side of it.
I think he's not saying he doesn't want to talk about it. He's saying he's not going to go, like, begging and campaigning and all that. He's gonna like, he'll say what he believes. He's gonna just say, yeah, I do believe I've been the best player for 5 years. I think I've, deserved those or at least, a couple MVPs and whatever. And none of what he said was false. None of what he said was like, him making stuff up. And it's like, his 2018 and 19 were worse than he was the past 3 seasons. He's gotten better as time has gone on. That's a fact. And he won MVP those first 2 and then didn't win it the 3 years he was actually better. So that it's just like him kind of saying, yeah, I mean, I think, I believe I should have it. But I mean, the thing is, you have to take into account the whole second part of what he's saying, which is really the more important part. He's saying, yeah, I believe I should win it, but I just want, like, I'll get it down the road. It's fine. I'm going to work. Like, I'm going to eventually get past it. I know I will. We're going to win the title right now. Like, that's our focus. But I mean, to me, it's almost more of a piece. When I read it, I looked at it more, and I saw more of, we're going to win the title and I'm going to get past this, rather than I want the MVP now and I deserve the MVP and blah, blah, blah. Like, I thought it was just as much him talking about what he's going to do in the future to get to basically just kind of almost a warning to the league of like, I'm going to do exactly what you guys say I can't do again, as it was him talking about like this MVP and needing another MVP. That's how I took it.
All right, one other topic besides this one, and that is how much pressure is on the Bucks to win the championship this season, with an interesting offseason looming, right? I mean, we're talking about Middleton, with his ability to opt out and then sign a new contract, whether it be with the Bucks or with somebody else. Brook Lopez also in his free agent walk here, as well, whether he decides to sign with the Bucks for less money or if he decides to go get one more big contract and play somewhere else with somebody with a lot of money out there. And how much of this is going to result in if they win a championship or not, right? If they're coming off a championship, now Brook has 2 rings, Middleton has 2 rings. How much does that affect them going to get the money versus staying and playing for another ring once they have 2? Don't know. How much of it will affect if they get knocked out in the playoffs before they get to the NBA Finals versus if they go to the NBA Finals and they lose in 7 to Phoenix, and how much will those guys want to come back and play? I think there is some additional pressure here. And I don't necessarily know if it's spoken pressure with inside the locker room one way or the other, where these guys are thinking about, what if these guys aren't back? But I think in Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton's mind, not knowing what the future holds, probably, there is a little additional pressure for them. Like, this may be our last run with these guys. Let's try and get this thing done and play at a high level. And that could be good or that could be bad. I think for this Bucks team, I think it'll be good because I think it's going to ratchet up a little bit even more than it would be with Brook and Middleton. Brook's having an outstanding year. He's going to get paid big, whether it be with the Bucks or somebody else. Middleton, he's got to stay healthy. If he misses playoff games, then he's going to cost himself money, obviously, this summer if he decides to opt out. And that may be the deciding factor of if he can't finish the postseason healthy, maybe he opts in for one more year and then tries to have a healthy season and then go into free agency at that point. But so for me, I think there is pressure on those 2 guys. Maybe not on the locker room, but on those 2 guys. Now, whether that ever becomes spoken word inside a locker room in a pregame or a halftime or a postgame, and it's actually verbally said amongst everyone, I don't know. But I would think internally those 2 are thinking about it, Nathan.
Yeah, I think there's definitely extra pressure here. I mean, it's just one of those seasons where like you don't know when it'll be this good of a chance again, and it very well could be. We very well could have several more chances like this, but you just don't know. It's an uncertainty, and guys are getting a little bit older. You don't know what's going to happen with these guys in free agency and all that. It's just one of those things that you really want to try to take advantage while you have this good of a team, have these guys playing this well. You've got prime Giannis. Brook is playing as good as he's been with the Bucks. Drew's playing as good as he's been with the Bucks. Chris obviously injured, but like when he was out there, he looked pretty good. He's hopefully going to be at least close to his best self. And yeah, you never want to lose in a season like this. Last year sucked because it was kind of out of your control. Chris gets hurt and it's just like, dang, but it'd be different if you lose and it's, okay, we actually squandered a chance. We actually, had a chance to win and lost. And that's a little bit different than just, okay, well, we didn't have Chris Middleton. And I don't know. I think it could change some things going forward if they do lose. I don't know. It definitely kind of like I've always been in the mindset since we won it in 2021 that, hey, let's ride it out until someone beats us, until someone proves they can beat us fully healthy when we have everyone and, everyone's at least close to their best. They haven't lost. They won it in 2021. In 2022, they got hurt. Okay, well, we're running it back in 2023. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things that like this, I don't think it's the last, dance with these guys, but I'm just saying you don't want to waste a very, very good chance here. I think this is the deepest team they've had of the Bud era. I think it's the best overall team,
Yep.
Bucks team of my lifetime, honestly. And I just, you really want to take advantage of that and, not let anything happen and try to win another title while you can. Because again, you just never know how many of these opportunities you're going to get in
I'll tell you something
Giannis's
else
career and all that. What's up?
with this CBA, and I tweeted this out, poking fun at the whole Jimmy Haslam situation, the Browns owner buying Lazary stock, because Haslam pointed out that this thing isn't done still, that they still don't have the paperwork done or whatever. It's not done. And when that new CBA agreement came out talking about players could own shares of teams, I was like, perfect. Don't sell to Haslam, sell to Giannis. Let Giannis be part owner of this team with Wesley Edens. He'll buy the shares from Lazary. Giannis forever a Bucks owner, and let him kind of run things or helping run things going forward. I would be all in favor of Giannis being a legit owner. He's a minority owner in the Brewers. I understand that. I'm saying having a legit share in this Bucks franchise when he's done playing, I think would be a pretty cool deal. I mean, I'm not worried about him moving it to Greece. I'm not worried about him moving the team anywhere else. The man is beloved, and anytime that man needs something from this fan base, darn right well they're going to do it, because they're going to view him differently than they view any other owner in sports because he's so beloved here. Similar to, I think, if Jordan ever owned the Bulls, it would have been the same type of deal. Or if LeBron owned the Cavs, he would do whatever LeBron asked him to do in order to make that Cavs team better. I think it would be one way to keep Giannis connected to Milwaukee, the city, the organization, and so forth going forward, if they gave him some type of legitimate share within this team.
Give him the keys to the city. I don't care. Give him everything. He should. I don't care. That dude, whatever he wants to own, he can own. And yeah, I mean, he's the king. He's the whole thing runs because of him. So
yeah, no doubt. He is named the Marzion. He is the king of Marquette fandom and Bucks fandom. Follow him on Twitter at Nathan Marzion. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be back later in the week like always. Have a good one. Toodles.